Well, howdy. My name is Kevin Flavin. I am a senior university studies major from Houston, Texas. But most importantly, I'm a loud and proud member of the Fighting Texas Aggie class of 2016. Hey, whoop! And I'm just going to talk to y'all a little bit about my personal leadership praxis for this fall semester of 2015, excuse me. And first of all, this year I've had an opportunity to serve as the vice chair of Traditions Council. And over the past 3 years, I've actually had an opportunity to be a member of this organization, and it's just truly been a great experience. But as far as my experience this year goes as a vice chair, some of the things that I've just been in charge of, first of all, is the administrative stuff. So everything that has to do with the members' accountability, that's pretty much all falls on me. But secondly, is I get to take care of all the money, which has been a lot of fun. Kind of running my own business, so to speak. But it's really nice just to have that experience and to know that all that I'm doing is for the betterment of the organization. Then on top of that, this is something that's been kind of unique to my role specifically. I've actually had an opportunity to serve as the point person for all the emergency response at some of our bigger events. So, for example, Silver Taps that we host every month. Um, and then also for Bonfire Remembrance Ceremony, those are actually a couple events that we've hosted in which very, very small responses by an EMS team have been necessary, but I've been the individual in charge of making sure that everything goes smoothly there. Now, as far as the my participation with some of the members, my one of my favorite things that I've really gotten out of this year has just been being a good friend to them, and not necessarily being a superior to where the 65 members are on council and where they lie in terms of their position. I've just really enjoyed having a chance to get to know them and not necessarily be in a hierarchy, so to speak. I've had a chance to truly get to know them, and I certainly appreciate their friendship, but at the same time, I certainly hope that they appreciate mine, because it's truly that's just been a great experience. Now, as far as why I chose to do this, I've had an opportunity to serve in Student Senate this year, but one of the biggest reasons I chose Traditions Council over that was simply because of the members. Now, as a student senator, of course, I have constituencies, but the cool thing about Traditions Council is I have a common interest in terms of the traditions of Texas A&M, and that's why I chose to pursue this opportunity with them. And what I love about some of the things that we do in Traditions Council, of course, we uphold some traditions that have been around for over 100 years in some cases. And what's so incredible about that is some of the decisions that we make just within the group of the 7 execs, and even as the organization as a whole, we truly have a chance to change the history of the university. And not only that, but we have a chance to uphold the traditions in the history of the university. So with that being said, I really have had to face some challenges, but also I've really been shown what leadership is all about in the process. One of the biggest things that I've noticed about myself personally is just an opportunity for me to step up in times when there maybe are some arguments between the 7 of us, healthy arguments, not necessarily all bad, but of course, in some cases, sometimes people need to step in to make sure that everyone's staying calm and being rational about their decision making and not letting their emotions get into play. And that's where I feel like I've stepped into that role very, very well this year. In addition, I feel like those negotiation skills that I'm developing this year are certainly going to be useful in the future. And those are some things that I'm hoping to be able to benefit from, not just in Traditions Council, but in other areas as well. Now, as far as the more of the leadership side of things, not necessarily having to do with myself, some things that I've learned about leadership through this experience, first of all, has been about encouraging the heart. One of the I'll call it more awkward parts of my role in Traditions Council is I actually have to issue demerits to members who perhaps haven't met accountability. And while it's very limited in terms of those members who actually are issued demerits, it obviously has happened. So I just have to make sure that when I do that, I'm not being attacking in any way, shape, or form, but I'm actually building up the individual, explaining to them why they were selected in the first place, and from there, giving them some motivation to make sure that they kind of change some things that they've been doing to make sure that they continue to can meet accountability for the rest of the year. And then on top of that too, one of the biggest things I've always loved about personalities and meeting a lot of people is seeing how people interact with one another as far as their personality types go. And with that being said, I'm an ESTJ. A lot of people, uh, when they first get to know me, are a little surprised that I'm extroverted. But having grown up in a big family, I think that's just something I'm most comfortable with. I get my energy from being around a lot of people. In terms of what I had mentioned earlier about collaborating with others, one thing that I've learned more about myself this year, having taken the Myers-Briggs multiple times, is that I'm actually a lot better at collaborating with others. And even when I don't necessarily get my way all the time, I've come to realize that that's okay. And most times ESTJs tend to be a little stubborn in that regard, and that's something I feel like I've really improved on this year. Um, now, thirdly, kind of moving into the latter portion of my points here, I would say emotional intelligence has been really important this year, just because I realize that I'll bring a lot of it to the table in terms of just being conscious of myself, of others, and kind of the context in which our conversations are being held. One of the biggest examples of that is just making sure that when members perhaps have a difficulty or a challenge with other members or with any of the execs, myself included, one of the things that I've always wanted to do is make sure that obviously their voice gets heard, but even on top of that, to making sure that no one's feelings get hurt, and that the individuals who are in play there, they have an opportunity to help each other in terms of making sure that both parties know what's going on in both situations. In my case, personally, I appreciate a lot of the constructive criticism because I value leadership so much, and of course, with the other 6 execs that I work with, I'm hoping that they value it as much as I do. Um, Fourth out of five, one of the biggest things that I really enjoyed this year was the Strengths Quest. I didn't quite really, I hadn't looked into it much up until this year, but I really found a lot of benefit from getting to know more about myself and my strengths and capitalizing on those and not necessarily always looking at my weaknesses. So having studied more of my top 5 strengths and kind of using the ESTJ personality type that I have, it's kind of been fun to look at my self-assurance strength. That's actually number 2 out of 5 for me, and kind of seeing certain situations in which perhaps I've been in a little bit of a debate with others, and knowing that confidently that my viewpoint is valid, while also understanding the where the other person is coming from, and looking back at those times and realizing that perhaps maybe it was my confidence and what I believed that perhaps helped me win that conversation or win that argument, so to speak. Not to say that every argument is meant to be won, but certainly in those cases, it's nice to look back and reflect on some of those instances. And lastly, out of these 5, I think just having a set system of core values has just been really impactful in knowing where I'm going in all of my obligations, and specifically in terms of responsibility, just because I feel like that's all encompassing, not just for Traditions Council, but also school, student senate, etc. I just enjoy being able to keep myself accountable with just a large group of people who obviously inspire me a lot, and heck, I'd love to say that I inspire them as well. But anyway, that's a little bit about my experience this year as Vice Chair of Traditions Council. Thanks, and gig 'em.